Peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Spotlight here on JTV Channel 55. I'm Ed Juenka, and I have a very, very special guest with me, Dr. David Hall. He's the president of the University of the Virgin Islands, and it's a real honor and a pleasure for me to have him. I consider him to be a true brother, and brother is a thing that back in the States we used to have a special connotation for the word brother, meaning one who is really responsible for himself and his family, and one who is committed to be there for other persons, as well as doing the heavy lifting, committed to doing the heavy lifting for the upliftment of his people. And I think that Dr. David Hall fits that description as a true brother perfectly. So it's my great pleasure to welcome my very special guest, Dr. David Hall. It's good to see you, my brother.
Well, good to be here, and thank you for those kind words, and thanks for the invitation. We've been talking about this for some time. I'm glad we were able to get together.
Absolutely. It's 50 years now for the University of the Virgin Islands.
Yes.
What does that mean, and how are you using that to reach out to your alumni?
Well, first of all, it means a whole lot to us, because for any institution to have been in existence for 50 years is not a lightweight thing. It's very important. And for the University of the Virgin Islands, doing those 50 years, they've contributed so much to not only the U.S. Virgin Islands, but the Eastern Caribbean. So many graduates have come from there. There are leaders all over the Caribbean and the world who are graduates of UVI, and so it is really, I think, a significant event, and therefore we chose to use the entire year to celebrate that accomplishment. And so since January, we've been having a number of events. We've had receptions on all three of the islands in the U.S. Virgin Islands. We had a wonderful Charter Day, and which is the official day the university was founded. We had a reunion concert choir, brought back many of our alums who participated in the concert choir. We've also had a blog where we've had different individuals associated with the university, former students, some who are now faculty members, some who are now trustees, writing about their experiences and what UVI has meant to them. And we've also been trying to get our alums more connected to the university. In addition to the alumni choir, we've kind of asked our alums to help us make history. So this year we've started a 50 for 50 challenge. Because this is our 50th year, we want 50% of our alums to make some contribution back to UVI. And I am proud to say that we are at the halfway mark. We have been able to get to 25%, which is a major achievement. We've had some committed workers, Ms. Linda Smith in our alumni office, and Ms. Dion Jackson, who is our VP for institutional advancement, have been really reaching out to our alums, and it's paid off. But we're not there yet. We want to get to that 50% mark, because if we do, then we will have made history. There's no other historically black college or university that has made the 50% mark, and we believe we can do that. So if there are alums who are hearing what I am talking about and they haven't given yet, we certainly would love for them to contact the university and make their contribution and help us to be able to make history. So those are just a few of the things we've been doing this year, and we have a lot more activities for the rest of the year.
Okay. Are you going to publish a booklet with all activities and everything?
We are, and not only a booklet of activities, we have commissioned a historical document that will be written and developed that talks about the entire 50 years, and we hope to have that ready in the fall. Our last event is in December. We're having a very fancy gala where we're inviting the entire community. We hope folks from the BVI will come over and participate in that as well, and we hope to, if not unveil the book at that ceremony, to unveil it before then. We have a time capsule that we're going to bury with memorabilia from this year that we hope future generations will open and be amazed about what we were doing and what we planned for the future of the university.
That sounds great, and hope, if you like, we could certainly give you some some promotion on this side.
Okay.
For your gala.
Okay.
And
we'll make sure
for your booklet. And I suspect that you'll be selling the booklet as well. There'll be a cost for the booklet.
No doubt. There will be. And we'll give you all of that information.
That's great. And your purpose for being the BVI this today and tomorrow?
Yes, a number of reasons. One, though I feel that we have a wonderful relationship with H. Lavity Stoutt, and a number of students who graduate from there come to UVI, we want to formalize that arrangement, and we want to formalize it not just with the college, but also with the government. And so I had meetings today with the the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, to talk about ways in which the University of the Virgin Islands can collaborate with the government here, and also with H. Lavity Stoutt. Met with the president of H. Lavity Stoutt, President Dawson, and I'm trying to make sure that as we think about our future, that we're thinking about the future of the BVI as well. And I wanted to come over and really begin to meet individuals who can help us shape that future. So that was one of the major reasons. Second, because this is the 50th, we're trying to get around to all of our alumni chapters, and we have a chapter here in the BVI, and so tonight I'll be meeting with our alums and trying to rally them to get closer, to find out more about the university. And last but not least, I needed to come and have this interview with you.
That's right. Your relationship with the H. Lavity Stoutt Community College, is it in a formal sense, in the sense of articulation agreements? Or
well, we do have transfer agreements which already indicate what students, what type of credit students will get, for the courses there that students would want to move over. But what we really want to do is eventually develop a memorandum of understanding that makes it much more seamless for students to come from H. Lavity Stoutt to UVI. We don't feel we're getting as many students as we could from the BVI, and as some may have seen, we're advertising more here. We have some commercials that's airing about the university, but I would like for us to really formalize the relationship and try to make it easier for students to come, and that's what all of us who spoke today agreed to work on, trying to develop a formal memorandum of understanding. And once that work is done, then we'll hopefully in the fall be able to announce that new agreement and indicate to students how much easier it will be to go from here to UVI.
Yeah. One of the concerns of our students here and our parents as well is the quality of education that the institutions that our children go to receive, and we sort of more or less, for lack of a better word, force them to go to HLSCC if the government is paying, or they're on scholarship.
Right.
If we have the offerings here, we have them go there, and then when they go on to a four-year institution, then they can choose the one of their choice. How is the University of the Virgin Islands fitting into that scheme after HLSCC, particularly in regards to the quality of the education? Is that an image problem for you? Enough people in the BVI know about the quality of education in the University of the Virgin Islands?
Yeah, some know, but I don't think enough people know, and that again is one of the reasons why we're trying to promote the university more and make people aware just how important it is, and the quality of programs that we offer, the quality of faculty members, and the fact that we are growing. I know people have had experiences, some may have graduated from the university 10, 15 years years ago, and in their minds it's still the same university that it was 10, 15 years ago, and it's not. And we've improved, and we've added programs and still adding programs. So my opinion is that UVI is a tremendous bargain for any person seeking higher education, because you get quality at a very reasonable rate, and it's also close. So I can understand the allure that some people have for going to the mainland, going to England or other parts of the world for education, but in their own backyard they have a diamond, an educational diamond, and we need to share with students more about what we have to offer and the quality, because that is really important. And our track record, I think, is an outstanding one. We have students who are going on to complete their PhDs, going to medical school, going to law school, doing outstanding things once they leave from UVI, and that to me says a lot about the quality of the education they're receiving. And one quick point on that is that there was a study done about our students in our science programs who participate in a particular program we have called MARC and RISE, and students who graduate from that program have a 90% completion rate once they go on to pursue a PhD, which is higher than the national average. So in some areas, not only are there some quality programs, but we are producing students who are at a level higher than at other places, and I think more people need to know about that.
Absolutely. Now, you spoke with some health services officials. Mm-hmm. We need a lot of nurses, particularly.
Yes.
You have those offerings in USVI, and how did you make that relationship with the health officials?
Yes. Well, we did have that conversation with Minister Skelton today, and we were certainly concerned about how we can develop a relationship so that we could assist in the need for producing more nurses here in the BVI. In all honesty, the USVI has that same issue. We aren't presently producing enough nurses to satisfy all of the needs within the U.S. Virgin Islands, and so we're trying to expand, and we want to be able to produce even more nurses. And so our conversation today was how we can, achieve that particular goal. But what was encouraging to me is that though nursing was a critical part of the conversation, we also talked about other types of healthcare needs that the BVI has, from geriatrics care to psychological counseling to other allied health fields that we need to begin to collectively explore. So one of the things that's critical to the quality of life for any nation is the quality of health care, and we are committed to trying to improve that in the USVI, and I think we have to, as we think about what we're doing there, think about how we can have a positive impact in other parts of the Caribbean as well.
Yeah. What other offerings you identified as beneficial to the BVI and its relationship with the the University of the Virgin Islands?
Yeah. In the healthcare area?
Yes. Well, no,
in general. Well, in general, we talked about a number of different programs, from technology. We have a new program in entrepreneurship that we just started, that we talked both at with government officials, but also at H. Lavity Stout, about how we can collaborate, because one of the issues that's going to be a challenge going forward is economic development, and we have to make sure that students are graduating from universities not just looking for a job, but looking to go out and create new businesses and taking their ideas to the marketplace. And so this new entrepreneurship program that we have, I think, is going to make a major difference in the economy of the Virgin Islands, and we were talking about how we can collaborate around that. Another Another one is the whole area of renewable energy. We started a center, the Caribbean Center for Green Technology, that is doing research and engaging in demonstration projects that will allow us to have more control over our energy future. And so we would love to collaborate around that. President Dawson indicated that they are beginning to experiment with solar energy, and we, through the center and through the university in general, are trying to do some major things in that area, and we believe that there could be some collaboration there. We talked about some areas in business that there are some new concentrations and new majors that we are looking at that we believe that students here would also be interested. One of the things we're also trying to explore is the communication area, which certainly relates to what you're doing here, but we have a very strong communications program, and we're looking to expand that. We're hoping in the future that our students will be able to run their own radio station and learn this craft that you and others have mastered. So there's an endless number of ways, I think, that we can be supportive. We have started a new institute for leadership and organizational development and organizational effectiveness, and we talked about ways in which we can help the government improve the quality of management and organizational development. We're doing that with some governmental agencies in the USVI, and we hope that there will be some opportunities for us to assist here as well.
Online courses, because I would like to sharpen my skills in the communications
no doubt.
And the hosting business.
Yes, we just developed a new strategic plan that was approved by our board about a week or so ago, and that strategic plan calls for us to develop online programs. We already have online courses, but what we don't have are degrees in a particular area that a student could take online where they never have to leave their home. And I'm sure that in the next 2 to 3 years we will be able to start promoting those online programs, and I do think that that's a wave of the future for higher education, and we have to be on the forefront of that.
Great. We're going to take a break for a word from our sponsors, and we're going to be right back with more Spotlight and Dr. Hall right after these messages.
This program is sponsored by the law firm of J.S. Archibald & Co. and by the trust company J.S. Archibald Trust Services Limited, both of Roadtown, Tortola, BVI.
Welcome back to Spotlight. If you've just joined us, I'm Ed Juenka, and we've been speaking with Dr. David Hall, the president of the University of the Virgin Islands, and we're having a conversation about his visit to the Virgin Islands today and the plans for the university in the future and the relationship between University of the Virgin Islands and HLSCC. So call your friends, and there's still a lot of discussion to be had, and you might want to get in on getting some of this information. We talk about the students, Dr. Hall, and some of the programs that are having tremendous success in overseas and furthering their education, right, coming out of the University of the Virgin Islands. Talk to us about some of your tracking mechanisms in the college. How do you stay in touch with the students? How do you find out where they are in the community, and so that you know for certain statistically that your students are having a real impact wherever they go?
Sure. No, that's a good question, and we do it in a number of ways. The primary way is through our alumni relations, because they try to track all of our alums and find out where they are, what they're doing, what areas they're working in, because we want to be informed, we want them to support the university, so it is important for us to know how to stay in contact with them and also to find out if what we're doing is working. So that's the primary way. Second, we have faculty members who really develop special relationships with students, especially those who are going on to PhD programs, because they need recommendations. We need to find out if they are completing their PhD. So some of our programs require that we survey them and find out what they've done since they've left, and that provided the information that I just shared with you about that 90% PhD completion rate. Something that we're trying to start this coming year that will add to it is a 6-month survey after graduation, because one of the things we're trying to get a better hold on is how soon are students finding jobs, how soon are they going on to graduate school or whatever is the next step. And so this new survey will start giving us even more current information as to whether students are being employed exactly in the field that they went to school for, or whether they are pursuing other types of degrees, etc. So higher education has moved away from just looking at inputs, which is what did a student have when he or she, you know, entered into your college, their scores, their GPA, etc. And they're focusing more on outputs. I mean, the whole movement around assessment is when students come in, are you having a difference? Are you making a difference in what they're learning and the quality of their lives going forward? So universities will have to pay even more attention to the output component, from are they employed, how do they feel about their educational experience, did they actually learn the things that we said they were supposed to learn while they were there.
Okay, and of course, you have been accredited. You are accredited university.
Yes, we are, and by Middle States, and the Middle States require a periodic review, which is in addition to the times when they come to accredit you, they want you to provide them with an update on your progress and changes and things of that sort. So we just recently submitted our periodic review to the Middle States Commission, and we are very confident that the first thing what it does, it forces you to do an analysis of the institution and what your strengths are and the areas that you need to improve on. And I think I was very pleased with the type of progress the university has made since our last accreditation visit, and so we are very optimistic about the next time that they come to accredit the university.
Okay, and your teachers, how much attention is paid to the quality of your teachers, and what certification do they need to have to be teaching in the University of the Virgin Islands?
Sure. A lot of attention is paid to that, because that's the heart and soul of what we do. If you don't have good quality teachers, then you can have all the fancy buildings you want, but students are not going to be pleased with their education. So we focus on that a lot. The specific criteria changes depending on the particular area of specialty they are in, but our main focus is to have people with terminal degrees. In most disciplines, that means a PhD, because that's the highest degree they can have, and therefore we want individuals who have achieved that particular goal. And accrediting agencies are asking for that to be more and more a standard that institutions are striving for. But the way that because a person can come in with a PhD, but still you want to monitor on an ongoing basis the quality of their teaching and also their research. So we have student evaluations of all of our courses, both full-time and part-time. We have individual peers who go into the classes of junior faculty members and others to find out how they're teaching. And this whole issue of assessment, and this is one of the things that has really changed in the institution, is we are now requiring every department to assess their curriculum, to assess their work that they're doing to see if the student outcomes are consistent with what the syllabus says and what the goals are of that particular degree. And again, going back to this periodic review report, I think we were able to demonstrate that the assessment culture is much more embedded in UVI now than it was in the past. And so that will just ensure that we have quality instructions going on. We also are expecting our faculty members to publish, to engage in research, because that helps them in the classroom. The more I'm writing about something, the more I'm researching, reading about a topic, then I'm more informed and I have more to convey to the students in front of me. So we are trying to create a culture where quality teaching, quality research, and quality service to the university and the community are the pillars of effective or of an effective faculty member. And we believe we're making good strides in that regard. The thing when our students are surveyed that they like the most is the quality of instructions that they are receiving from our faculty. Our student-faculty ratio is 14-1, which is an outstanding student-faculty ratio. It means that students are not just a number, but they are getting personal attention. We want to improve on that, especially in the advisement area, because we want faculty members to spend even more time trying to better advise our students so how they are selecting their courses is in the right order, etc. But in regards to the quality of instructions in the classroom, I think we're doing a very good job.
Okay. Turning to money matters.
Yes.
Everybody's having challenges with funding of all sorts. How is your financial sources position and how you're managing and mitigating those challenges regarding having enough money to do the things you want to do?
Yeah, that has been the greatest challenge that I faced in my time as president of UVI, because the economy of the Virgin Islands has been challenging, and therefore that's had an impact on the university. In the last 2 years, we've lost close to about $6 million out of our operating budget. Those were funds that I anticipated using to build the institution. But it's a reality that all governmental agencies are facing, and I would argue universities across the nation are facing these same challenges. The way we have tried to address it is by eliminating some of the optional expenditures that you have in your budget that you want to do, but when tight times come, you have to choose not to do them. We fortunately have not had to lay off anyone, but we have had to freeze vacant lines, and we've tried to do that more on the administrative side than on the faculty side, because we want students to have the classes that they want to take whenever they come. We've also cut travel, we've cut our food budget, we have done a lot of things to just trim expenditures. But we have come to realize that there's just so much of that you can do, because we are already, as I like to say, down to the bone, and all the fat is gone. But we have to look at the revenue generation side. We have to not only teach entrepreneurship, we have to become more entrepreneurial as a university. So we're looking at new programs. This Institute for Leadership and Organizational Effectiveness is one way in which we're doing that. We're hoping to start an internal entrepreneurship fund where we are trying to get faculty members and staff to start thinking creatively as to how the university can generate more revenue, yet holding on to quality. We hope to bring in more students. We hope to look at other ways in which we can expand into other territories more. The UVI has so much to offer, and I think we unfortunately aren't as known as we should be throughout the territory, and I would even argue throughout the mainland. So our hope is that we can attract even more students to our doors, and that will allow us to also have some additional sources of revenue. We haven't given up on the government. We hope that when the economy stabilizes and begins to grow, that some of those funds that we have lost will be restored, and so we're going to work very hard to bring that about. But it is a challenging time, but as I've said to the community, I mean, this is a test of our character as an institution. Just as individuals' characters are tested, the character of an institution is tested. And one of the things I feel very good about is that we went through this process of budget reduction in a very cooperative and collaborative way. I didn't make the decision in a closet by myself. I shared what the situation was and asked all constituencies through their representative to help us solve that problem. And I think we came out of it with a better plan than if I had just, made the decision by myself. And I do believe that the more we can get people to rally around making hard decisions together, then the better we, not only is the product better, but I think people feel better about the whole process.
Yes. How can your alumni in the BVI or and other places make contributions to the university? What system has been set up? Yeah,
well, there are a number of systems. There are no barriers to them giving. They can go online at www.uvi.edu, and our website has a spot where you can, on the front page it says donations. So you can click on that, and you can make your donation electronically using a credit card. You can call our alumni office, and they can send you out a form if you want to, do it through the mail. You can clearly come out to any of our alumni events and make contributions, or just contact the university through our institutional development or institutional advancement area, and we'll be more than happy to work with individuals. And this 50-50 campaign that I talked about earlier has really encouraged more alums than we've ever had before. I mean, just to put that in context, when I arrived here, only 6% of our alums were giving back to the university, and we're now already up to 25%. And for that amount of change to occur says to me that there are very loyal alums out there. We just need to reach out to them more, and I believe that the more we reach out to them, the more they will support us through this challenge that we're facing.
Okay, I know you have a philosophy about everything that you do, and I want to get into your head a little bit,
okay,
and talk a little bit about your governing philosophy, particularly how you manage things and your vision and your views,
sure,
and so on. But we're going to take a break,
okay,
and we're going to come right back and go right into that after these words from our sponsors.
Spotlight is brought to you by Bolo's High-Tech Printery, Virgin Island Motors, and Clarence Thomas Limited.
Welcome back to Spotlight. Dr. Hall, we left off introducing your philosophy, your philosophical approach to doing things. As briefly as you can, talk to us a little bit about how you go about your business.
Yeah. Well, first, I think as a leader, you have to create a vision for people to understand where the institution is going, why we are needing to do that. And so I really tried to spend a lot of time when I first arrived talking about where we were headed and why. And this concept of a pathway to greatness is what I've tried to really instill within the institution so that people have the license to dream again. And the second piece of it is really having a set of clear principles that we are asking everyone to operate. So we have have 7 management values. At the next show, I'll go into all 7 of them and talk about them, but we try to measure ourselves. I measure myself, I measure my cabinet by whether we are operating the institution based on those 7 principles. And the last thing I would mention for right now is what I said earlier about the budget process. That is getting people involved, having them to own the process. So in the academy, there's this concept called shared governance, which says that faculty, staff, students all should play a role in governance. And so we've really worked hard to build a strong shared governance process so that people feel a part of decisions as opposed to feeling that decisions are imposed upon them. So there's a lot more to it, but those 3 things are real important.
It would be helpful just to give a list of the 7 principles.
Okay. Yeah. One deals with high performance, being a high performance institution. Another deals with being service oriented. Another deals with making sure that we are assessing before we make decisions. One deals with fiscal responsibility so that we're not wasting our money. Another deals with, and the 7th one, which I hope we get a chance to talk about, is the emotional and spiritual health of the institution, that you have to nurture the emotional and spiritual health. There's probably one I'm overlooking right now, but
that's a good segue, because I know that you're big on spirituality, and so I'd like you to just tell us, how have you been able to integrate spirituality into the learning process and the education process in UVI?
Yeah, I think we've made some inroads in that regard. We're not certainly finished yet, but a few things I will just mention that I think have allowed us to do that. One is having that principle, the 7th principle, be one that says to leaders in the institution, you have to nurture the emotional and spiritual values of the people who report to you and of yourself. So I've made it something that I'm asking my cabinet about, which means they have to ask their staff about, and therefore we are, I think, caring about people. We also created a center for the study of spirituality and professionalism, which puts on workshops around ethics, around well-being. How do you make sure that you are balanced and whole as you are doing your work, and how to what's the connection between your profession and your spiritual life? I mean, just asking that question has tremendous power. And this past year, one of the things we started that I think has really allowed this to move forward is that we have gatherings at lunchtime once a month where people, different religious beliefs, different denominations come together, and we have a speaker who talks about a different aspect of spirituality. It could be healing, could be wellness, could be our connection to nature, and it just allows students, staff, faculty to just sit and talk about that part of who they are, not imposing anybody's religion on anybody else, but it's sending the message that in the workplace we don't have to leave our values and our spirituality at the door. We can bring it with us, and it can help us become better people.
How does that go down to the students?
The same way students participate in all of these things that we have talked about. The leader of our Student Government Association told me that they take the 7 management values, especially the 7th one, and use it in the structure of their meetings. And I think that is important. The place we need to begin to work on more, and it's a part of our strategic plan, is how do we incorporate it more into the curriculum? How do we make sure that issues of emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence are a part of what students are learning and being exposed to as they go through the educational process? So that's the work for the future, and I'm confident that we can make some inroads into that.
Okay. How are you reaching out to the community, the broader community,
Sure.
with their challenges? We hear a lot on the news news about the USVI and the challenges it's having with young people and crime and antisocial behavior, not unlike some of the problems we're having here, and the same challenges all over the world. How are you mitigating those challenges?
Well, in a number of ways. Number one, we were very concerned when I arrived about male students, and especially the fact that such a small percentage of our student population was male. And what that means is that you have a lot of males who are dropping out of high school, which means also that they're probably getting into negative social behavior. And we started a movement, an organization called Brothers with a Cause, that was started to support the male students we have in college, but we then branched out to reaching out to males at the junior and high school level to try to keep them on the educational path. So we now have an annual Man Up conference that is held on both of our campuses. The last couple of years we've attracted close to 3,000 or over 3,000 young males, putting in front of them some powerful speakers and entertainment to try to plant seeds of success inside their heart, soul, and spirit. And we're beginning to see some progress from that. We are also working with 7th grade males who are very vulnerable to gangs to try to keep them on the educational path through a summer program. And our hope going forward is that we can even be much more explicit, because right now our focus has been reaching male students before they get into the negative activity. The real challenge for us is going to be, how do we reach those who have already dropped out, who are already in gangs, who are already in negative behavior? And that's something we're going to have to work a little harder to figure out how we do that, but we are committed to that. The other area that we're looking at for the community is that of economic development. So this entrepreneurship program that I mentioned is not just about how can our students become economic developers, but how can we assist the territory in its quest for economic development.
Okay. And what can the community, because these young people are not coming into this behavior in a vacuum.
No doubt.
Yeah. What can you say to the community in the BVI that and I'm sure that you must be saying in the USVI that we need to be doing to make sure that we don't continue to foster this type of development in our communities?
Yeah. Well, we first have to understand that we have a crisis going on, and that we have to devote as much energy as we can to reversing that crisis, and especially among our youth. I was looking at some data recently which indicated that 41% of the children in the USVI are living in single-parent households led by women. And so that says a lot to us as men, that we have abandoned our responsibility, or clearly not fulfilling our responsibility. And so I have been arguing that we need to have a movement around bringing fathers back to the home, or at least back to having a presence in the lives of their children, because a lot of these social problems come about because of that. And this is not something that it's a university problem, it's a community problem that we all have to work together. I just believe universities need to be involved in helping the community identify the problems, identify solutions, and implement those solutions.
Okay. Everybody is talking about vocational training and making vocational training on par with academic training, and not to make it seem as though one is less or inferior to the other. We just had our keynote speaker at the commencement exercise at H. Leverty South Community College talk about the whole stigma of vocational training be the bastard child of education, which I thought was very profound. How is the UVI meeting that new recognition, and what are some of the things that you're hoping to do in the technical and vocational area?
Yeah, well, we're trying to address it in different ways. I mean, we have, for example, a process technology program, which is an associate's program that we were doing with Hovenza before they closed, which was trying to give young men, though women took advantage of this program as well, but the majority were men, some basic vocational school skills in process technology so that they can move right into the workplace. So that's an area where we now will have to retool it to figure out how we can continue doing it now that Avenza is no longer there. But I do want to make the point, and I agree with the person who spoke, that education has to be a welcoming place for anyone, regardless of what area that they want to go into. But I don't believe that a university can do all of those things, because sometimes if you try to do all of those things, you take away from the things that you're strong in. So we are strong in the traditional approach to higher education, and we do have some very important 2-year associate programs that I think relate to the particular need, but I am not convinced that UVI is the place to do all of the vocational training that is needed for the USVI. We are willing to work with the government and other entities that want to do that, but I think if we took that on, especially with the financial crisis that we're facing now, that we probably wouldn't do it well, and I just think we need to make sure it's done, but not feel like we have to own that.
So you see a separate entity developing around that particular process?
So. I think that is the best path to follow.
Okay. We followed the tyranny o'clock, so finally, and I know we could go on for days. Finally, what from your educational philosophical perspective, what can you leave us with this today in the BVI? What would you say to us as a community from your philosophy in education?
Well, the first is that I have always been just impressed by this community every time I come here, by the quality of the people that I meet, the level of education that I find among individuals. As I shared with you, spent time at the with different ministers of one of education and also of health, and just very impressed with the quality of leadership. And I think people in the BVI should be very proud of what has been achieved. And the second thing is that there are common problems, common challenges that we are working on that I know exist here as well. And I just hope that going forward we can work on those together and not allow an ocean to make us feel as if we are separate from each other. There is one blood running through us all, one common destiny, and I think we need to work more closely to address these common challenges.
It's only a half an hour. Yeah. You can't get from Manhattan to the Bronx in a half an hour.
I heard that.
Dr. Hahn, thank you very much for being my guest. Well, it was a tremendous pleasure, a tremendous honor.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes,
it's been a joy.
We're going to try to work it out so we could get more in and have more discussions, and I don't know, perhaps have you come over and do some talks and some speeches for us.
I'd love to.
Great. I've been having a discussion with Dr. Hall, Dr. David Hall, the president of the University of the Virgin Islands, and we've been talking about a myriad of subjects, and certainly Dr. Hall, as you can see, is a person that we need to have a close relationship with institutionally and personally here in the Virgin Islands. It was a great pleasure to have the discussion. We hope you enjoyed it as well. Spotlight is live on JTV Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and rebroadcast every Sunday at 2:30 in the afternoon. You can also catch us live on Spotlight on jtvlive.net at any time on demand. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the words of encouragement, your suggestions, and criticism. Continue to email me at jtvspotlight@yahoo.com. I'm Edjuenka, reminding you that when the spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Tortola Concrete Limited, Gilbert's Painting Contractors, and CCT Global Communications.